Thank you very much. We have some very exciting news today. We have numerous fronts are being covered. Before we do that, Will will give me certain proclamations. We'll sign them, and you'll hear a little bit about them. Will, please.
Yes, sir. First, we have for your signature 5 official designations of special envoys. The first is Mr. Steve Witkoff, who's actually in the room, to be your Middle East envoy.
Where is Steve? Steve Witkoff, everybody. He's done a great job in the Middle East. Really great. But we'll see how it all turns out. It's complex, but I think he's going to do very well.
Next, we have Mauricio Claver-Carron to be your special envoy to Latin America, sir.
Okay, good man. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have retired General Keith Kellogg to be your special envoy on Russian-Ukraine issues.
We've made a lot of progress on Russia, Ukraine. We'll see what happens, but a lot of progress has been made. We're going to stop that ridiculous war. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have designation of Rick Grinnell, to be your envoy for special missions.
I sent him to California to turn on the water. We turned it on. It was not easy because we had to go through a lot of environmentalists that are causing a lot of problems. And we have billions of gallons of water. It was on 3 days ago. You probably saw. It should have gotten a lot of press, but it didn't get much. All we're doing is giving Los Angeles and the entire state of California virtually unlimited water, which they could have done 5 years ago, which I told them they should do, but the environmentalists stopped them. And we opened it, and we did it regardless of the state. And now the state seems to be very happy. I spoke with Gavin Newsom, and he's very happy. I almost called him by the other name, didn't I? My little nickname for him. But I think they're all happy. They have a lot of water in California. Too bad we didn't have it about 2 months ago, right? That was, by the way, that was a big move. We have, I don't know if you saw the pictures that were released of the water pouring down from the Pacific Northwest and Canada and lots of other places. And it's a pretty amazing sight.
Mr. President, Rick Grinnell had a big Friday trip as well.
He had a very big Friday trip. You're right. We'll talk about that. He's a good man, Rick.
Lastly, sir, we have a designation of Mark Burnett as your special envoy to the United Kingdom.
You know who Mark Burnett is? I figure he should be good. He's certainly done a great job. Friend of mine and very talented guy. We have very talented people working for us. I'll hold that one up because Mark gets so much television. We'll hold it up, right? He'll be thrilled to see it. He's going to do a good job.
Thank you, sir. Next, your administration has smashed records for appointing large numbers of highly qualified, capable people at all levels of the federal government. These are 28 sub-cabinet level officials being appointed to a number of different departments and agencies. Some of them are quite important positions like departmental general counsels, but these are people who have been pre-vetted and have received your approval previously.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, this is an executive order. Discharges your Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and your Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, to begin a process that will hopefully result in the creation of an American sovereign wealth fund.
It's a very exciting event. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had. We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth, the people, my predecessors. We're creating a lot of wealth. Scott, maybe you'd like to say something about it, and I'd ask also Howard to say something about it.
Yes, sir. There's Very exciting. We're going to stand this thing up within the next 12 months. We're going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet for the American people. We're going to put the assets to work. And I think it's going to be very exciting. We're going to study best practices that's done around the world. It'll be a combination of liquid assets, assets that we have in this country as we work to bring them out for the American people.
The extraordinary size and scale of the U.S. government and the business it does with companies should create value for American citizens. If we are going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe we should have some warrants and some equity in these companies and have that grow for the help of the American people. So I bring all these things together, I think we'll create, Scott and I will create an amazing sovereign wealth fund for you, sir.
So other countries have sovereign wealth funds, and they're much smaller countries, and they're not the United States. We have tremendous potential in this country, tremendous. You're seeing that, what's happened just in a short period of time. And as an example, TikTok, we're going to be doing something perhaps with TikTok, and perhaps not. If we make the right deal, we'll do it, otherwise we won't. But I have the right to do that, and we might put that in the sovereign wealth fund, whatever we make, or if we do a partnership with very wealthy people, a lot of options, but we could put that as an example in the fund, and we have a lot of other things that we could put in the fund. And I think in a short period of time, we'd have one of the biggest funds, and you know, some of them are pretty large, I must tell you. Some of the, like the Saudi Arabia fund is on the large side, but eventually we'll catch it. But we're going to create a lot of wealth for the fund, and I think it's about time that this country had a sovereign wealth fund. And these two gentlemen and some others are going to work with them very closely, and they'll be heading it up, and they're going to do a great job. Two highly respected people that have done unbelievably well in the world, in the real world. So that's a big deal, huh?
Yes, sir. I think it's going to create value and be of great strategic importance.
Mr. President, why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him, and it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs, and we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. The numbers, some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas, and many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous. And they're finding tremendous waste, really waste, more than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse can be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. But they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending. You've been writing about some of it, frankly, and some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed because he's running, obviously, a big company. It has nothing to do, if there's a conflict, that we won't let him get near it. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it. But he has some very good ideas, and we have a lot of very other talented people also. We're bringing in the most talented people in the world. By the way, we just unrelated, but we have two of the most talented people in the world, the legendary Rupert Murdoch and Larry Ellison. So they are two legends in business, publishing, and probably every other. Rupert is Larry pretty much in a class by himself, right? I mean, although you may have a couple of bucks more, I don't know, but Rupert is in a class by himself. He's an amazing guy, and Larry is Larry. Larry's one of the most serious players anywhere in the world. So it's an honor to have you. This has nothing to do with you people, but they're here, and I thought it would be appropriate. I'm sure you didn't recognize them. If you're all going crazy, they're saying, what are they doing here?
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Mr.
thank you.
President, on the tariffs, is there any chance that Canada or China could also get out of the tariffs after you struck a deal with Mexico?
Well, nobody's out with Mexico. We had a great talk with Mexico, and we had President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much. We've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens from coming in. I think we've lost 200,000 people on average a year for many years, much higher than the 100,000, could be even closer to 300,000. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But we have a very good relationship. I also spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, and we had a good talk in the morning, but I did ask him a couple of questions, like, you know, banks aren't allowed to do business in Canada. Canada is very tough. Canada is very, you know, we're not treated well by Canada, and we have to be treated well. Banks are not, as an example, allowed. Did you know that? That banks, American banks, are not allowed to do business in Canada. Can you believe that? And that's one of many things, and we talked about it, and I think we'll win most of the subjects. But for some reason, a lot of things have been very unfair with Canada. I noticed that in the first term. You deal with people, and after a while you begin to realize, like you learn that Larry Ellison's very tough to do business with, okay? He's a very tough guy. I mean, I'm sure you're shocked to hear that. But Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough to do business with, and we can't let them take advantage of the U.S. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part. They don't take our cars. They make cars, but they basically don't take our cars. And, you know, we don't need, and look, I think we're going to have another good conversation today. We're actually speaking at 3 o'clock again. But we don't need them to make our cars. We don't need them to give us lumber. We don't need them for agricultural products because we have all the agriculture we need. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part, our milk, dairy, etc. A little bit they do, but not much. We take theirs. And as far as cars are concerned, they took in a big percentage, almost 19% of the market. And, you know, I wouldn't mind making our cars in the United States, so we have a problem there. I'd like to make our cars in the U.S. We don't need Canada to make our cars. With that being said, we're going to have another call at 3 o'clock. We had a call this morning. It was a pretty good call, I'd say. So the call with Mexico went very well in the sense that they're very strong now on the border. They're going to put soldiers there. So, actually, they're best military soldiers, and they're going to be at the border, 10,000. That's a lot of soldiers. And they want to protect it also. You know, they don't want people running through Mexico, coming through Mexico to come into our country. So they're going to do that. And then we're going to talk about other things over the next 30 days, we're going to have Scott, Howard, and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, lead the delegation, and we're going to have a big negotiation with Mexico. I'll be involved too, and President Sheinbaum will be involved to see whether or not we can work something out on the tariffs.
What about China?
China will be speaking to China probably over the next 24 hours.
On fentanyl and China, President Trump.
We don't want fentanyl coming into our country. Now, we had another big thing, speaking of China. China's involved with the Panama Canal. They won't be for long, and that's the way it has to be. Marco just got back, as you know. He's in the process of coming back. I guess he's almost back by now. And he had a very long conversation with the leader of Panama, the respected man, and some others, the entire leadership group. And we're trying to work a deal on the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal was given foolishly years ago to, it shouldn't have been happened, years ago to Panama, like Jimmy Carter and the group. We lost 38,000 people building the Panama Canal, like one of the great wonders of the world. It's the biggest job we've ever built, the biggest project we've ever built in this country, dollar-wise and every other way. 38,000 people died, Americans, all men, just about, laborers and construction people. They went to Panama. The mosquito got them. Between mosquito and snakes, we lost 38,000 people. It was the most expensive project ever built by the United States. The biggest, most expensive project we ever built 110 years ago. If you bring it up to now, it would have been the equivalent of $2 trillion. The most expensive we ever built, and we gave it away for $1, okay? We gave it away essentially for nothing. And we either want it back, or we're going to get something very strong, or we're going to take it back. And China will be dealt with. And we didn't give that to China. We gave it to Panama. We shouldn't have given it to Panama. But Panama, as you know, has violated the agreement, totally violated the agreement. So that's in the process right now. But they did have a very good meeting with the head of Panama.
In addition to tariffs on China, can you say your current thinking about whether China should be forced to pay reparations both for fentanyl deaths and the million COVID?
No, I haven't talked about that, but they do have tariffs. Honestly, nobody, the amount of money that was lost and most importantly, the lives lost because of COVID is not something that anybody could ever even imagine. It's probably $60 trillion, and all the countries in the world don't have $60 trillion. The amount of death and the amount of destruction and the amount of money lost is probably $60 trillion. I had it figured by people about 3 months ago. It just said, figure it out. Nobody knows what the real number is, but it's almost an infinite number. The damage done, no, but I have not discussed that. What I have discussed is we'll have some good meetings with China. We have meetings planned, and we'll see what happens. But that was just an opening salvo. If we can't make a deal with China, then the tariffs will be very, very substantial. Okay, I'm going to sign this one.
Sir, this is, you've obviously made making America healthy again a key priority of this administration. A key component of that is obviously heart health. This is a ceremonial proclamation declaring the month of February to be National Heart Month.
Okay. I hear we're doing very well with nominations. We'll see, but it looks like we're doing very well with nominations.
Mr. President, have you been involved with calling senators who had some concerns about Tulsi Gabbard or
Yes.
RFP?
Yeah, I've gotten great response. And they want to do what's right, and we've had a good response. I think we'll do well. We have great people like this. We have great people coming in. I think I'd like to say the best ever recruited for government. I think we have the finest people ever recruited for government.
Will it take an active Congress?
And you know what? You're starting to see that because we've done more in 2 weeks than Biden's done in 5 years, 6 years. They could be here between him and Obama. You add it up, okay? We've done more in 2 weeks than they've done in 12 years.
Will it take an active Congress to do away with USAID, or do you believe you have?
I don't know. I don't think so. No, we've not when it comes to fraud. If there's fraud, these people are lunatics. And if it comes to fraud, you wouldn't have an active Congress, and I'm not sure that you would anyway. But we just want to do the right thing. It's something that should have been done a long time ago. It went crazy during the Biden administration. They went totally crazy what they were doing, and the money they were giving to people that shouldn't be getting it, and to agencies and others that shouldn't be getting it. It was a shame. So they're tremendous fraud. But we'll be doing a report. We'll be giving you that report at the appropriate time.
Yeah. In the first term, though, USAID was something that you liked in some respects.
I love the concept of it. Yeah, sure. I love the concept, but they turn out to be radical left lunatics. And the concept of it is good, but it's all about the people.
Mr. President, you said you also want to impose tariffs on the EU. What kind of tariffs are you thinking about?
Well, we have massive deficits with the European Union, massive, like $350 billion, if you can believe it. They don't take our farm product. They don't take our cars. They don't take almost anything, but we take their cars. We have millions of cars coming in, BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen and just so many different cars, and we don't do anything about that. And we don't charge them tariffs. They make it impossible to sell cars in the European Union. They make it very difficult, agricultural product. They actually don't take it. And they have a lot of excuses. Some of them are the pesticides and the different chemicals used. And Bobby Kennedy actually is looking at that very, very seriously, because maybe it's not necessary to use all of that. You know, we want to be the healthiest country, and we're not. We spend more money on food than anybody else in terms of its creation, but we're not the healthiest country. So maybe there is something to the fact that we shouldn't be using so much chemical, and maybe that'll stop. But Bobby Kennedy is the one, because he is not a believer in all of the things we have done, and neither are the Europeans. So we'll see what happens. But they use it as an excuse not to buy our product. And I asked a couple of the leaders, I don't want to use names, but how many Chevrolets or Fords do you see in the middle of Munich? And the answer is none, because they don't take any cars. They don't take anything. So the European has abused the United States for years, and they can't do that. And they want to make a deal. Let me tell you, in all cases, they all want to make deals. There's nobody that doesn't want to make deals. They've been abusers, and they want to make deals. So we'll see about that. But we'll have, I think, some very fair. All we want is a fair deal. And, you know, there's a word, reciprocal. I'd go right now, reciprocal tariffs on everybody, because many of the countries that you feel so horrible about the way they're being treated by Trump, you're saying, oh, President Trump is so terrible to them. Well, they charge us tariffs. European Union has a VAT tax, which is through the roof, okay? It's a similar thing, similar to a tariff. It's a VAT. And they have it, and it's numbers like you wouldn't believe. And Canada, I told you about the banks, and I told you they charge us. And people don't say that. They don't like to say it. Just like they don't like to say that I opened up the water for California. It's a great thing. It's too bad they didn't do it themselves. I had to do it, and it was not easy. We did it a very rough way, and I didn't like to do it a rough way. We shouldn't have to do it a rough way. But a lot of these countries that we're talking about, you know, they're so-called allies, but they don't treat us well. And just like I got $420 billion, and now it's actually over $600 billion, the Secretary General of NATO came in 2 weeks ago, and he said it was a miracle when Trump came in, when President Trump came into NATO. He said it was $636 billion by saying to them, no, you have to pay. And if you don't pay, we're not going to be there for you. You know, somebody has to say it, and they paid. And it was a large amount of money. And one of the problems we have with the Russia-Ukraine situation is that we wanted to see some equalization, because we're in for close to $300 billion, and they're in for $200 billion less. Why are they in for less? Because Biden never asked them for money. He never said, you got to pay. He never did. All he did is hand out money. So we're talking with them right now, and we're actually working some deals right now. So we have some guarantees and some other things to keep that whole situation to go, really going. I mean, going. We're telling Ukraine they have very valuable rare earth. We want what we put up to go in terms of a guarantee. We want a guarantee. We're handing them money hand over fist. We're giving them equipment. European is not keeping up with us. They should equalize. And look, we have an ocean in between. They don't. It's more important for them than it is for us. But they're way below us in terms of money. And they should be paying at least equal. They should really be paying much more than us. But let's say equal to us. And they're billions and billions of dollars below. So we're looking to do a deal with Ukraine where they're going to secure what we're giving them with their rare earth and other things.
Mr. President, they announced a deal with Mexico this morning. Was that partially related to the market reaction and a criticism for Mr. Murdoch's own newspaper? He called it the dumbest trade war on the editorial page on Saturday.
I'm going to have to talk to him. I've been right over the Wall Street Journal many times, I will tell you. I don't agree with him on some things. No, it's not only is it Not them. You're going to see. You're going to see. Every single one of those countries is dying to make a deal. You know why? Because they're ripping us off really badly. And the United States is tired of just being ripped off. And that's why we have $36 trillion in debt. We have it for a reason, because we make bad deals with everybody. And we don't allow that anymore. So the Wall Street Journal is wrong, because very simply, every single country that you're writing about right now is dying to make a deal, because the deals they have right now are so good, and so good for them, and so profitable for them. You didn't know that Canada didn't allow our banks. You didn't know all of these different things. And I think in the end, you're going to see that either very, very substantial tariffs are going to be paid by them, or they're going to make some kind of a deal.
Sorry, did Mexican President Sheinbaum
Did what?
Did you blink this morning?
There was no blinking. No, she's a wonderful woman, but she did agree to 10,000 soldiers on the border. I would say that's a lot. Would you say that's pretty good? 10,000 soldiers on the border?
Sir,
and the 10,000 soldiers are going to keep illegal aliens out, and they're going to keep them out, seriously out, and otherwise they're going to have a big penalty. Mexico's going to be penalized. They're not going to come through Mexico anymore, and they're not going to let the fentanyl come in from China. And China hopefully is going to stop sending us fentanyl. And if they're not, the tariffs are going to go substantially higher.
Sir, Ron, just to clarify what you said about Ukraine earlier, the rare earths, is that something you want them to give the rare earths to the United States?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to have security of rare earth. We're putting in hundreds of billions of dollars. They have great rare earth, and I want security of the rare earth. And they're willing to do it.
Sir,
Mr.
you mentioned earlier that
President,
you
on Canada, when you talk to Justin Trudeau again, is there anything he can give you at 3 p.m. when you talk again to also
I don't know.
pause,
I don't know.
like you said with Mexico?
I don't know. We have big deficits with Canada, like we do with all countries. I mean, I look at some of the deals made, I say, who the hell made these deals are so bad? But with Canada, I have a talk with him, and you maybe know or maybe not. We're going to meet again or talk again at 3 o'clock, right after my next meeting, and we'll see what happens. I can't tell you what's going to happen.
You mentioned that he could agree to change your mind on the tariff.
Well, we can always, look, what I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our, Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. They can do it very easily. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. So I say, why are we doing this? Why are we willing to lose between $100 billion and $200 billion a year? We don't need them. As a state, it's different. As a state, it's much different. And there are no tariffs. So I'd love to see that, but some people say that would be a long shot. If people wanted to play the game right, it would be 100% certain that they'd become a state. But a lot of people don't like to play the game because they don't have a threshold of pain. And there would be some pain, but not a lot. The pain would be really there. So we're going to meet again by phone at 3 o'clock, and we'll let you know what
on Israel, President Trump, you're prepared to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu.
Coming in tomorrow.
Yes, you mentioned in the past you're concerned about Israel being too small geographically. Would you support annexation of parts of the West Bank by Israel?
Well, I'm not going to talk about that. It certainly is a small. It's a small country in terms of land. See this pen, this wonderful pen? My desk is the Middle East. And this pen, the top of the pen, that's Israel. That's not good, right? You know, that's a pretty big difference. I use that as an analogy. It's pretty accurate, actually. It's a pretty small piece of land. And it's amazing that they've been able to do what they've been able to do when you think about it. There's a lot of good, smart brain power. But it is a very small piece of land, no question about it.
Mr. President, you said earlier that Elon Musk is doing everything with your say-so. So is there everything that he has done thus far, going to all the agencies, shutting off access, getting access to federal payments, that all has yours? You're okay with all of that?
For the most part, yeah. If if there was something that didn't have my okay, I'd let you know about it really fast.
And you said that there's some areas where you wouldn't let him work because he has conflicts of interest.
If there was no, I haven't seen that. and he would know not to do it. So we haven't had that yet. But if there was a conflict, we would let him work in that area.
Earlier you said with regard to Panama that they were going to make a deal where the U.S. was going to take it. How long do they have to make that sort of deal, and are you still leaving on the table?
We're going to meet with Panama on Friday at about 3:30 in the afternoon by phone, and maybe there'll be some representatives that, here or there. But we're going to be talking to Panama on Friday, essentially. And they've agreed to certain things, but I'm not happy with it.
On the Middle East, Mr. President, if I may, do you still have doubts that the ceasefire will hold?
On what?
On the Middle East, do you think the ceasefire will hold?
I have no assurances that it'll hold. I mean, I've seen people brutalized. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. No, I have no guarantees that the peace is going to hold. Steve, you might want to say something about that. Steve Woodcock.
It's holding so far. So, and we're certainly hopeful, and that's the president's direction. Get the hostages out, save lives, and come to hopefully a peaceful settlement of it all. So far it's holding.
Mr. President, on a different topic, questionnaires have been going out to FBI agents across the country who were involved potentially in the investigation. Do you believe anyone involved at any level should be fired, sir?
Well, I think the FBI was a very corrupt institution, and I'm a victim of it in a true sense. I was able to beat it, but other people have been treated horribly. I think the FBI had a great reputation. I think its reputation was really damaged badly, as is DOJ. Look at what they've done in terms of weaponization. Look at what they've done to a political opponent. Probably got me elected by what they did, or I think I was doing well anyway, but they might have got me elected. But you know what? We have to have pristine, beautiful, perfect law enforcement. And what we want to do, and Cash is the one to do it. He's the one guy that is going to do it. We have to bring the reputation of the FBI. We have to bring the fact of the FBI back to what it could be. Not even to what it was, even better than it ever was. Because who would have thought that the FBI could have been corrupted like they were corrupted? Who would have thought that would have happened? Who would have thought they would have been used to go after, political opponents, essentially, but me being the number one, and so many other things beyond that. And they've been hurt very badly, and we'll see what happens. But Cash is the one to do it, and I hear he's doing very well. Cash will straighten it out. We have great confidence that we can make the FBI great again. Okay, one or two more and we'll be done.
Tulsi Gabbard's nomination is...
Say it?
Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah, I think Tulsi's going to be doing okay. I'm not sure. I can't guarantee anything, but she's liked by so many people, especially people in the military and law enforcement.
She has a little bit of trouble with some senators over her thoughts on Edward Snowden. I know Snowden, you've mentioned in the past you're thinking about pardoning him. Are you still, and what do you think about that?
No, I don't talk about it right now. I just, people feel very differently. Some people think he should be pardoned, and some people think it would be a terrible thing to do. But I don't get involved in that.
Mr. President, what are you discussing with Mr. Murdoch and Mr. Ellison?
Just respect. I have great respect for Rupert Murdoch. I disagree with him a lot of times with the Wall Street Journal, but that's all right. We've disagreed before, and I'm sure they didn't have any idea what they were talking about, because already you see what's happening. Look at Colombia. Look at what happened with that. Everybody said that with Colombia it was going to be a disaster. In 1 hour, everything was settled. You know why? Tariffs. Without tariffs, they wouldn't have been the same way. They would not have treated me the way they treated me, which was extremely nicely. And I don't want to use countries. I don't want to use names, but tariffs are very powerful, both economically and in getting everything else you want. Tariffs for us, nobody can compete with us because we're the pot of gold. But if we don't keep winning and keep doing well, we won't be the pot of gold, and then tariffs won't be so good for us. But when you're the pot of gold, the tariffs are very good. They're very powerful, and they're going to make our country very rich again. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Let's go.
I don't know.
Thank you, guys. Let's go.
How is the market doing?
Hey, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Let's go.
It did? I don't know. I don't think about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
观众朋友们好，欢迎大家来到今天的思想先驱报节目啊。那么之前大家可能还记得啊，中国的这一家 AI 企业 DeepSeek 啊横空出世，当天呢对于美股进行了震荡式的冲击啊。那么当天啊，正好这个川普总统啊在白宫有一个发布会，这发布会本身其实跟中国没有什么关系，讲的是减税呀以及驱逐非法移民这样的问题。但是啊，川普居然在这样的一个演讲里面提到了 DeepSeek， 当然他提到更重要的是什么呢？说中国的领导人啊，这里呢可能是习近平对他说的一段话，他当时是怎么说的呢？说中国的公司 DeepSeek 啊发布的这个 AI 啊，应该成为我们美国 AI 行业的警钟啊，我们必须聚精会神的竞争啊，因为我们有世界上最棒的科学家，甚至中国的领导人都跟我说呀，说你们在西雅图啊，在其他地方啊，你们是有全球最聪明的人啊，硅谷那更是不在话下，独一无二。那么川普啊，其实在这样的一个过程中啊，是透露出了一个重要的信息，就是习近平啊，估计是习近平，不然别的人也不敢自称中国领导人啊。说呢，美国呀，总是最先提出想法，有最聪明的人走在最前边。那我们先假定啊，的确，习近平是跟川普说了这样的一番话，到底这又意味着什么呢？那美国的这个人才呀，那我们当然知道啊，是整个全世界人才的最大磁石，而 DeepSeek 背后的人才战略又对于美国有怎样的启示呢？今天我们特别要为大家推荐到的就是 Kevin Xu 啊，那么我也曾经采访过他呢在最新的一次接受 China Talk 的采访中啊，披露出的有关于为什么在 AI 领域DeepSeek 这样的雇佣了几十个生瓜蛋子的这样的一个公司，反而呢却超越了比 DeepSeek 财力更广、资源更丰富的其他的同类竞争对手。那么在这里Kevin Xu 我觉得提出了一个非常精辟的观点是什么呢？就是说在 AI 研究的前沿，现在有很多的技术还是非常探索性的，因此你有几十年的经验未必是优势，反而因为你有之前的几十年经验，让你对于你的薪资要求不一样，可能会成为成本的阻碍。现在整个 AI 认知边界还在不断的扩展之中。那么梁文峰自己也曾经说过说真正的创新往往来自于没有包袱的人。也曾经有这个 DeepSeek 本身的猎头透露，他们寻找的人才往往就是只有3到5年工作经验的人，你有超过8年的经验，反而会不考虑你这样的一个情况。另外梁文峰自己在接受采访时候也说这个 DeepSeek 它没有 KPI 没有组织架构，也没有各个部门之间的这个评估和竞争机制，更像是一所快乐的学术实验室。里面的这些年轻的工程师就是对于 AI 研究充满了热爱，就是希望能够改变未来。这和谷歌和腾讯阿里这样的大公司是形成了鲜明的对比。为什么呢？因为这一些公司往往是受到投资者的压力，他必须要证明自己模型的投资回报率高，但是这样的模式可能并不是推动像 AI 这样前沿研究取得真正意义突破的最佳的方式。那么与这个DeepSeek 不同的，比如说其他的中国的一些知名的 AI 研究实验室，比如说Moonshot竹间或者是这个阿里、百度、腾讯底下的这个大团队它必须得对投资者负责，因此呢，这一些公司就必须要雇佣行业内知名的这一些 AI 研究专家，你这样才能够吸引更多的投资你挖到了大牛等等等等，投资人对于盈利是有希望的。但是呢，这个 DeepSeek 就完全没有这一方面的需求。说到这里还要讲一句题外话，这个其实呢 DeepSeek 现在的这个组织架构虽然是没有商业化的压力，但是梁文峰也曾经寻求这个风险投资。但是当时市场对于 DeepSeek 这样非常理想主义的愿景没有太大的兴趣， 最后呢没有筹到钱，所以才可以自己干。所以我们说有的时候投资者看公司未必看准，看走了眼，反而是成就了 DeepSeek 后来的发展。那我们就讲到这个人才非常的关键但是之前大家想到的人才战略，往往比如说想到的是大手笔挖角，或者是在中国的这个产业政策主导下的这样的一个人才战略。那么最典型的就是我们熟知的半导体行业，比如中芯中芯呢就是由一批前台积电的工程师创立的，还有中国的这个著名的芯片存储企业长芯，那也是基本上是这样的。华为其实也是，不管是挖台湾的工程师韩国的工程师，还是直接在全球美欧挖工程师，往往的是大手笔大价钱挖角这样的话呢，加速芯片设计和制造能力的提升。但是在这个 AI 领域不一样，为什么呢？因为它是一个科技范式变化非常快的这样的一个领域，真正意义上的纯前沿研究，每天都有新的定律、原则和算法。那么对于旧的范式根深蒂固的这样的工程师反而可能没有办法适应这样快的转变。那半导体制造可以说是正好相反。这个半导体制造呢是一个成熟的技术领域，那不管是台积电三星这一些全球的佼佼者，那比中国是远远领先。所以为了迎头赶上，中国最重要的是比如说呢是要在这些成熟的技术工艺上尽快的和国际经验和国际的先进水平接轨，迅速的缩短和竞争对手的差距。因此在这样的一个行业这样的大手笔国家主导的产业政策、挖角政策行之有效。因为目标就是什么呢？技术是已知的，前沿是已知的，你就是要模仿并且是复刻。所以在这样的一个范围之内你只要找到掌握核心技术的人，争取人才，就能够提升这样的一个竞争力。但是在 AI 领域这个经验光环未必是好事儿，你找大佬大牛来吸引人才和资金，可能效果不如半导体行业这样的明显。因此在凯文旭看来， DeepSeek 的人才团队组成就有一个非常有趣的现象，什么呢？首先，核心团队几乎都是中国本土培养的工程师，不是西方化的这样的一个情势。虽然其中有一些人可能在外企工作过，但是没有那种在谷歌在 Meta 深耕了数十年这种技术大牛回国后主导项目这样的一个情况。所以这就导致 DeepSeek 在中国的 AI 生态中有一个独特的身份，既不是完全意义的海外背景这个我们叫做这个洋务派，也不是传统意义上的国企，或者呢是政府扶植的机构。而在凯文旭看来， DeepSeek 真正的这个人才优势是什么呢？就是说它有一种开源自豪感，有一种自由探索空间。而那我们知道这个凯文旭本身是在这个 GitHub 曾经有深度的工作经验，他就讲到这对于中国的开源社区来看，其实是一种非常独特的文化。那中国的这个开源社区文化是什么呢？在这个凯文旭看来，就是说中国开源的兴起实际是2000年代中期，当时这个 Linux 就是全球最大的开源操作系统在中国呢就举办会议等等等等，推动开源发展。而像梁文峰这样，他大学时代正好是处在这个阶段。那中国现在年龄在30岁到40岁之间的这一些创业者可以说是深受当时Linux 这一些开源理念的影响。这一代人呢非常的拥抱开源社区，而这一代工程师呢，在这个凯文旭看来，就是中国的开源情怀者。他们曾经主要使用西方的开源软件来工作， 帮助中国企业缩小技术差距。而大概是在6、7年前啊，很多的中国工程师也开始想要创造自己的开源项目，让整个世界来使用他们的技术。而对这一批年轻的深受开源文化影响的工程师来说，他们的成就感不是钱，而是当硅谷的这一些大公司使用他们的开源产品，有这样一种被认可的荣誉感。那比如说他们自己开发的数据库微服务架构云计算开始被亚马逊、被谷歌、被其他的国际公司来采用，结果他们就会在论坛里面非常开心的提供各种各样免费无偿的支持服务，甚至是半夜起来修复 bug， 帮助用户来解决问题。他们也知道中国的技术往往不被世界认可，当他们推出新的技术的时候那往往会被贴上抄袭或者是盗版这样的标签。因此呢，在凯文旭看来，这一部分中国开源者往往有一种工程师的民族自豪感他们希望向世界证明，中国的开源技术不仅仅是好技术，而且是值得全球开发者信赖的技术。这种心态是非常独特的，一方面是有民族主义的色彩，但是更重要是什么呢？是一种工程师的工匠的自豪感。他们更在乎的不是我拿多少钱，而是这个技术能不能够获得全球顶尖同行的尊重和认可。在凯文旭看来，在 DeepSeek 的发展轨迹中，这一种开源情怀是非常明显的。他们真正希望打造一个世界领先的中国的全球的开源化的 AI 模型。而凯文旭也非常注意到，梁文峰在2023年的采访中可以说就拥抱了既是这一种开源信仰理想主义精神同时呢又有一点这个民族主义情怀的这样的一个非常独特的我们叫做有一点矛盾，但是又具有中国特色的心态。他最开始讲到创建 DeepSeek 的时候似乎像是一个狂热的开源文化的布道者，说我们不是为了盈利，而是为了推动 AI 的发展，为人类创造更好的未来。但是在2024年7月，随着一批中国开源社区的工程师的崛起，他的态度似乎有了转变。他又讲到我们中国的工程师完全可以实现硬核的创新，我们不仅仅是要把西方的技术本土化，而是要推动全球 AI 的前沿发展。那我认为凯文旭的这一段可以说是非常精当，同时呢也非常符合我们的一些有限的对于 DeepSeek 以及中国开源文化社区的理解。有关于这样的一种独特的人才文化，今天呢我也特别想听一听何明先生的看法，到底应该怎样看。同时也跟大家做一个简要的预期，就是凯文旭这个采访中也讲到了未来这个 DeepSeek 会对于中国的云服务商、云计算商，像华为、阿里等等等等这样的公司产生怎样的影响，对于英伟达又有怎样的意义，对于未来的开源和闭源的两种文化之争是不是会带来根本性的挑战，也请大家关注思想先驱报的相关内容。
现在西方媒体关于中国深度探索这家公司包括他的创办人梁文峰先生的各种各样的介绍非常之多中文的媒体就更不用说了。但是呢，其实无论是梁文峰先生的各种各样的传奇的故事，还是说了他们公司的对今天世界的如此震撼的一个事情我只是看的并不是那么多但是我知道的是梁文峰先生这样一个形象那样一个大一副眼睛，那样一个非常有学生气质的那样一个形象就非常非常用一个什么词呢？就是对我的这种内心的一种记忆的集中是非常的有利。因为在30-40年以前80年代初期，我们无论你是在机关 还是在工厂，还是在街道这个街道上或者在大学这个研究机构等等年轻人是比较容易凑在一起的一起交流读书甚至成立诗社文学社读书社我们大学之间彼此的这样一种串联或者是请名人来演讲来讲座我们自己也会有各种各样的这种活动那么包括像我这样还担任过一个学校的校委辅导员甚至还到一些大学去举行各种活动当然那个时候我们是完全不知道应该怎么样保持一个演讲活动的一个基本规范几十年之后我都记得，比如说我在当时候的湖南师范大学上面去演讲还是讲什么一边讲还一边抽毒烟你现在能够想象当时那种情况吗？而且还记得当时候我们为了聊天这个觉得天气又是非常闷热在深圳那个时候爬到这个房子也不是爬吧就是梯子上的这个房子顶上在房子顶上一边喝着啤酒一边就畅想这个未来。那个时候我们在一起就交流读了什么书啦，最近又有谁有一个重要的什么演讲啦，又讲了一些什么内容啦讲到中国要进行各种各样的变革了这个文化的政治的经济的农村的政治体制的有很多很多的讨论。那个时候的西方无论是日本还是欧洲还是美国还是澳大利亚对我们来讲就是一个梦想之国梦想之国没有办法想象中国的有一天会非常容易接近这些国家的水平。当时大家在一起讨论的都是说中国和西方的距离相差30年还是50年这30年或50年呢人家也在发展人家的速度可能越来越快那这样的话是不是中国就远远赶不上这个西方呢不管是那个时候的想法是多么的幼稚，但是80年代的那种激情那一种努力的一种变革的这样一种群体意识到现在为止我都非常的这个感动。但是在过去的30-40年我已经完全脱离了这个中国。虽然我在年轻人的身上看到了不跟这个现在的媒体上所描述这样小粉红或者是他们这个很失落没有我所接触的一些中国大陆来的留学生他们不但非常的聪明而且呢也非常的勤奋他们的视野也很开阔。那这种情况呢我在顶礼监督室的节目也好在华尔街论坛也好多次跟我们观众讲，我觉得中国的年轻的一代不像大家所简化的那么小粉红而是相当有世界观相当有这种好奇学习之心，而且呢他们的知识面也很广而且很勤奋优良的品质非常之多看不出来他们跟西方的年轻人有多大的距离，也看不出来他们跟港台有多大的这个距离，甚至在他们在某一些方面不亚于西方或者是港台。当时我这种想法或者看法我的一些朋友非常的不以为然，因为他们可能更多的是看到各种各样的报道。而我呢今天听了刚才李奇博士介绍的这种情况，一下子就把我的这种记忆，一下子就把我最近几年对年轻人的一种观察突然之间就让自己都感觉到一种激动的一种感觉。然后我就想到了一个词， 中国的崛起啊，我们估计只是比较物化的去理解啊。有人说是低人群，有人说是豪华优势。像我们这些年强调的就是中国的工业基础，实际上是跟国家的发展战略计划啊相关系。人才的队伍的培训呢，已经是行之有年。再加上中国的工业体系啊，有一定的基础，有很多因素啊，包括人口啊，很多的因素啊，都是中国今天崛起的一些因素啊，你都不能完全这个排除啊任何一种因素。但是呢，只不过是话呢，有一些因素啊，你过分的单一，那你就觉得呢，那不能涵盖啊我们这个。这样一个看待发展的这样一个理由。但是今天李奇博士跟我讲的这些事情呢，让我突然有一种感觉，那种感觉就是中国在发展过程中间有一个东西是我们可能很长时间忽视了，那就是激情。激情是一个人抱有一种想象，抱有一种期待，也是很多事情非常勤奋和努力的一个状况也包括当然也包括聪明包括一个时代所赋予给你的这样一种机会。那今天的这个世界不管大家有什么样的问题，国与国之间意识形态与意识形态之间文化差距、生活方式有很大的差距，但实际上大家的接近的程度越来越高越来越没有那么一种真正的这个障碍。所以梁文峰他们领导的这样一个团队有这么一个突破其实它可能会发生在杭州，但是有可能发生在深圳，也有可能会发生在西安，其实也有可能发生在这个其他的国家和其他的地方。但是因为它发生在中国，它所富有的意义就变得特别的这个不同而且这样一种突破它反映的不是一个简单的一个中美之间的竞争力的问题，而是一批年轻人他们的理想，他们的激情，并没有因为今天这个世界是如此的世俗，如此的竞争压力而彻底给毁掉。也许作为成功本身产生的巨大影响力而言这个故事它有一定的独特性，有一定的孤立性，但实际上在中国大陆各个地方像梁文峰这样的年轻人，我相信是非常非常之多的这不是我们平常的媒体未必能够捕捉到这样一种力量其实中国人的好奇心，中国人的激情是中国很多的创新能够在中国变成一个现实。而且在之前我们节目中间讲中国为什么什么事情都变得很酷为什么很酷就是竞争吗？还不完全是非常重要的是对生活的人，非常重要的是对生活有一种激情对世界有一种激情所以今天我就不想讲太多的其他技术性的内容，而只是强调一个激情很有可能也是中国科技崛起科技创新具有指导力量的很重要的一个推动力一个来源，一个令人激动人心的这样一种现象。谢谢大家。
欢迎来到六度解析新闻背后的多维思考，带你洞悉头条背后的世界。在今日华尔街频道的六度解析中，我们将深入探究时事热点，为你揭开新闻背后的真相。在这个信息泛滥、真相难觅的时代，六度解析应运而生。我运用海量数据、人工智能整合以及专家观点，层层剥析每个故事。通过实时背景数据挖掘，确保你获得全面的新闻资讯。然而，我们关注的不仅仅是数据，更重要的是将它们串联起来。我将分析多方视角，揭示隐藏的脉络，为你提供单一媒体常常忽略的背景信息。无论是政治、经济，还是全球事务，我都将为你带来最具洞察力的分析。试想一下，拥有洞悉全局的能力，做出明智的决策，参与有意义的讨论，这就是六度解析带给你的价值。它不仅仅是新闻分析，更是一种赋能的工具。加入今日华尔街的六度解析，共同探索头条背后的故事。你通往深度理解的旅程，从这里开始。不要只是阅读新闻，要解码新闻，理解新闻，活出新闻。这一切尽在六度解析。立即订阅，不错过任何真知灼见，因为了解真相仅仅是个开始。欢迎来到六度解析新闻背后的多维思考，带你洞悉头条背后的世界。在今日华尔街频道的六度解析中，我们将深入探究时事热点，为你揭开新闻背后的真相。在这个信息泛滥、真相难觅的时代，六度解析应运而生。我运用海量数据、人工智能整合以及专家观点，层层剥析每个故事。通过实时背景数据挖掘，确保你获得全面的新闻资讯。然而，我们关注的不仅仅是数据，更重要的是将它们串联起来。我将分析多方视角，揭示隐藏的脉络，为你提供单一媒体常常忽略的背景信息。无论是政治、经济，还是全球事务，我都将为你带来最具洞察力的分析。试想一下，拥有洞悉全局的能力，做出明智的决策，参与有意义的讨论，这就是六度解析带给你的价值。它不仅仅是新闻分析，更是一种赋能的工具。加入今日华尔街的六度解析，共同探索头条背后的故事。你通往深度理解的旅程，从这里开始。不要只是阅读新闻，要解码新闻，理解新闻，活出新闻。这一切尽在六度解析。立即订阅，不错过任何真知灼见，因为了解真相仅仅是个开始。
Hello， 大家好，欢迎来到今天的华尔街论坛的直播的